I'm working on my neighbor's Nissan Versa. It's kind of like the same car that I have. And I open the hood and I see things like this laying everywhere. So here was this. I'm assuming that's for putting oil in. It's like a funnel. But then I see a ton of rags. Like you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's some tucked on here. 6, 7. You know, oh, there's another one way down there. 8. To me, that's all potential fire hazards, guy. That stuff couldn't catch on fire. So I'm gonna go ahead, take all this crap out and throw it out. It's so easy for paper to catch on fire underneath the hood. And I'm sure everyone knows someone who does something like this. I see it all the time. Got a 1997 Toyota Avalon here. It's here for a new starter. I already went ahead and put the starter on, as you can see right there. Now what's interesting is, where did I put the starter? I misplaced it. Oh, it's right here. What's interesting is, look at the starter that came off. I know it's hard to see, but that says Toyota. Guys, this is the original starter for this 1997 Avalon. What's that, 24 years old? 24 years, that's freaking amazing. We got a Duralast unit just went on. I guess we'll be changing this starter in about 2 years. All right, so this thing is all buttoned up. Let's try the very first startup. See how it goes. Hey, at least the starter works for now. Here I got a 2005 Colorado. It's here because it needs an AC compressor. The clutch on it is pretty much destroyed. Try to get a shot of that for you, and I'll get a better shot once I get in there. But you can't buy the clutch for this car individually. They want to sell you the entire compressor, so it's what we had to do. It's not a matter of fixing AC. The owner does not care about the AC. It doesn't even work at this moment. That compressor, or the clutch itself entirely, is going to lock up eventually and the car won't be drivable. He said he even saw smoke coming from underneath the hood right where the compressor clutch is at. So yeah, that's the reason why we're changing the compressor. Not because he cares about the AC, nor does the AC work. He just wants the car to be able to continue driving it. As you can see, I removed a ton of things and we have plenty of space to work here now. And this is what's going on with the compressor. You can see how that's all messed up and how this creates a ton of noise. Now I just remembered that I put a water pump on this car not so long ago, and it's nice to see that everything is nice and dry, no antifreeze leaking. So that job turned out very well. But let's continue to get this compressor out of here. And there we have it, guys. New AC compressor is installed, everything's plugged in, everything's tightened down. Got the belt back on it. We're using the original belt. I told the owner 2 times to go get one. He had 2 different chances to get it. He said no. All right. Anyway, there goes the old compressor right there on the ground. It's completely locked up. I tried turning it. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, let me go ahead, put the fan back on it, the fan shroud, and that should be it for this one. So this thing is put back together 100%. I have not attempted to start it yet, so here goes the very first startup. Hopefully everything goes well. Sounds good. I'm not hearing any weird noises. Here I've got a 2018 Kia Optima, and it's here because there was an fender bender on the front right side, so I got into a little accident. The body shop fixed all the body damage, but they didn't notice the bent tie rods. So when the owner noticed that you got to hold the steering wheel pretty much like this just to go straight, he took it back to the shop and they said, oh, you know, bring it back tomorrow, we'll have a look at it. And then his guys looked at it and they said, no, everything's fine, just take it in for wheel alignment. So when he did that, the wheel alignment shop said, hey, your tie rods are bent, we can't align this. So that's when he decided to bring it to me. He's like, you know what, if they couldn't find bent tie rods, he's like, I don't want to deal with them, so that's why I'll just have you do it. So that's what we're doing. So let's go have a look at the front wheels. And yeah, it's pretty difficult to drive this thing considering that 2 wheels are pointing opposite directions. So we looked on the front here, you can see that one's facing pretty much straight. Okay, this side was fine. This is the side that was hit. And look at that wheel. Do you see how much it's pointing to the right compared to this one that's pointing straight forward? That's crazy. So let's jack it up. Let's have a look at these tie rods and change them out. All right, so I'm already seeing bad signs. Look at all this overspray, guys. To me, that is a major turn off. The owner was just talking about how the body shop had good prices, how they did good work, everything looked good. And you know, seeing this alone, if this were me, I'd be upset if it were my car. He said they replaced the fender liner and it does look relatively new, but there's just a ton of fasteners missing and things not right. You can see there should be some sort of a nut right there and there's nothing. So when I found it, it was actually just hanging down like that. And then down here, someone did a piss poor job at putting in that screw, so you can see it's not even holding the fender liner. Right here, there's nothing at all. So what that allows is the fender liner to be in a place where it's not supposed to be, and the result is the stabilizer link is actually hitting it. You can see it already cut open the new fender liner. It's just shit work laziness. It baffles me. You know, if you're gonna do something, do it right. You're working in a shop environment. I know you had a nut laying around that you could have put right there. You get what I'm saying? Or where's the original one? The car's a 2018. If you took it apart, where's the nut that was there? This shit makes no sense. Anyway, let's get back to the tie rods. So to me, this looks like a really hard bend. I'm gonna assume our damage is right here because the inner tie rod looks relatively straight. So I'm gonna assume this is our problem right here. Let's get the new parts. We're still changing both the inner and the outer at the same time, but I think this is gonna be our problem. And just as I suspected, here goes our damaged part. So if I try to line them both up, you can see where the new part ends and where this one continues to bend. So it's way out. So basically making this distance shorter, which in turn pulls in the wheel, and that's what causes the wheel to point out to the right like that. So honestly, if he wanted to like cheap just kind of fix it bare minimum, outer tie rod alone. But like I said, we got the new parts. So with the two tie rods side by side, you can see on the right side we have the damaged one. You can see how it's noticeably shorter. So I got my inner tie rod tool right here. Let's go ahead and get this thing off of here. You need plenty of extensions for this. Kind of awkward because I'm trying to work and let you guys see what I'm doing at the same time. Come on this side. She's tight. There we have it. There goes our price. Like I said, the inside tie rod looks pretty good. Now just so we're clear, I don't care what parts go on this car, okay? But here's a perfect example of letting customers buy their own parts, and they always buy the cheapest parts. It's just what they do. So these are Ultra Power brand. They got these off of Rock Auto because I see the Rock Auto box inside their car. So yeah, if I were ordering these parts off of Rock Auto, I would order like Moog, Delphi, or even just the OEM parts, because Rock Auto has OEM parts for Kia and Hyundai, and they're not that expensive. They're pretty damn cheap. Prices of the OEM parts are pretty close to the aftermarket parts, unless you want to go really cheap like Ultra Power. So yeah, if I were buying parts, I would not have bought these parts. It's not going to make a difference. The car's still going to get fixed, but it's just, if you give customers the option, they're always going to cheap out, because nobody has ever said, fix my car the most expensive way. Okay, so I ran into a little bit of issue. It's not really an issue, but it's just a difference. Okay, so this is the original part, and it had a spacer on it. Okay, so this spacer goes on this collar and blah blah blah, right? Well, there's no provision on this one for the spacer. But if you look at the threads, if I were to move this back right there so both of these parts line up, what's going to happen is, especially if I go ahead and put this spacer on here just like that, what's going to happen is we're not going to have enough thread engagement in the rack and pinion, so that's not good. So if we bring this up right there, we're going to have full thread engagement, but you can see there is no longer any space for that spacer, so it's going to have to go without it. It's just a different design, and that's also going to throw off the length over here. So that means the whole counting threads, when I took off the outer tie rod, that's out the window, because now this is a different length. And this is why I'd rather have OEM parts, because everything would have matched up perfectly, and that would have been the end of the story, right? So we ran into a much bigger problem. I guess there's a reason why there's a difference in these tie rods, because this one doesn't fit this car. I tried to thread it in and it doesn't thread in. It just, you know, hot dog down the hallway. And if you look here, you can see the diameter of that is much smaller than this one. So guys, it's not gonna work. It's going back in the packaging anyway. He could return it, but I guarantee you this part was so cheap on Rock Auto that it's not cost effective to send it back. You know what I'm saying? They won't accept a return, because shipping would probably cost more than what that thing costs. So we're gonna put the original tie rod back on it. It sucks to go through all this work for nothing, right? At least the outer tie rod looks like it matches up. Let's see if it does thread in. Come on, baby, I got faith. Yes, so that does thread in. Okay, so thankfully the inner tie rod still looks like it's decent. I don't see any bend in it, so could probably get away with this. So I got everything put back together. For the most part, it's all tightened down except for the jam nut right here and this clamp. And the reason for that is because I'm going to put it on the ground and I'm going to try to get the wheel alignment as close as I can possibly get it. If you put the clamp on it right now, when you go to twist the inner tie rod, sometimes it ends up turning the bellow, so that's not good. So leave it loose for now until you're done with your adjustments. On this side, you can see I put a nut right there, and I put 2 screws in here right where they belong. And you can see we have some clearance now between the stabilizer link and the fender liner, so hopefully that doesn't hit anymore. It didn't take a lot, guys. Super easy to do. It just baffles me on why people just choose to skip steps or just half-ass everything. So everything's looking really good here. As you can see, this is tightened down. Got my cotter pin in here. So let me go ahead and put the car back on the ground and make any adjustments. Of course, the car is going in for wheel alignment. The owner said he knows about it, but I like to try to get things as close as I can. So I started up the engine and I got the steering wheel as straight as I could get it. If you look on this side, of course, this side's nice and straight, and this side looks pretty damn good. And I haven't even begun to adjust the tie rods yet, so it's only gonna need minor adjustments. All right, so first impressions is this thing is pretty much almost done. It's driving a lot better. As you can see, we're going straight down the road and I'm holding the steering wheel relatively straight to go down the road. It's not perfect, it still needs to go in for wheel alignment, but I'm more than comfortable to give this car back to the owner like this, and a proper wheel alignment is gonna fix this. We got this Chevy Colorado in the garage. You guys remember Miller the Filler? Yeah, it's this truck. All right, as you can see, we got the Miller out. So you would think, whoa, what's going on? Something crazy? Nope, just a brake job. Typical plain old pad slapping it. But the caliper bolts that hold the caliper to the bracket were completely seized in place. So, of course, the second you try to remove it, it just rounds off immediately. So I grabbed a nut and I welded a nut onto it, and that was the only way I was able to extract it now. So this is now a 22 millimeter instead of a 13. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and let that cool off right there, and we could finally get to the brake pads. You can see how that inner pad is just almost right down to the metal. So let me go ahead and knock out this job. I just wanted to show you guys, it's late and you know you're trying to get something done fast. You figure, you know what, it's a pad slap, we'll knock this out 1 2 3, it'll be on its way. But things never go according to plan. The welder saved my butt once again. Here I've got a 2007 Ford Edge, and nothing special. It's getting pads and rotors all around and front stabilizer links. And it's actually December 9th today, so that means it's my birthday. All right, I hear you guys. Settle down, settle down. All you people saying happy birthday, thank you, I appreciate it. But don't worry, I'm not gonna be working too much. This is the only car I got lined up for today, so it's the only thing I'm gonna do, and that's it. The rest of the day I'll just relax, I guess. The owner of this car, she just got this Ford Edge 2007 about 2 weeks ago. She previously had those 2 Pontiacs. I'll put a card in top right hand corner right here so you guys can watch that if you want. The first Pontiac with the misfire, she was actually at a gas station getting fuel when someone held her up at gunpoint and stole her car. Yeah, that's the kind of neighborhood we live in. So obviously that car is gone. She got a different Pontiac, and that one she just decided to get rid of it for this Ford. So that's where we're at. So like I said, 2 weeks. She said it needs brakes, it needs a radio because the radio screen just wasn't lighting up and it was difficult to tell what station they were on and blah blah blah, right? So the first thing she had me do was, of course, put a radio in it, right? Priorities. So I got the radio done maybe about a week ago, something like that. And today it's back for the brakes. I told her, hey, your parts are here, drop off the car. And that's where we are. You can see I already got a jump start on this, got the new rotor, new pads, and a new stabilizer link already installed on this side. But of course, it's never just here's a car, do what needs to be done, and that's it, right? So she dropped it off and she says, hey, my new radio isn't connected to my phone. It's supposed to show the pictures on my phone, it's supposed to show the videos on my phone, and it's not doing that. So I'm looking at it like, well, my job was to install the radio. I don't know what's going on if things don't work on the radio. So yeah, the radio works fine. This is it right here. Now you see these gaps? That looks ugly, right? That's just how it is, guys. That's the kit that came for this car to install an aftermarket radio. And the radio she bought was a pain in the butt to install. It's like obviously a universal one. All radios are universal, I guess, aftermarket ones. But it's universally wrong. And yeah, that's just how this kit turned out. I don't know if she brought me the wrong kit or whatever, but hey, I just installed what they brought me, and that's how it ended up fitting. The radio turns on, everything works, radio works, touchscreen works, but it won't connect to her phone. As far like the Bluetooth connects, but it won't connect as far as she was saying, like to her videos and her pictures. So I started reading through the manual, which I found right here, and I'm not going to go through it, but basically what it says is to go into your phone, go into the settings, go into developer mode, go into debug mode, and then they want you to go into a website, their website, and download some files, install them on your phone, and then come back to it's just a nightmare. Okay, keep in mind, I don't know what brand radio this is. It says something like SWM right there, but the box that it came in, it was just like a cardboard box, like nothing on it, you know what I mean? So I don't know how much this radio costs, but it's one of those things where what you pay is what you get. What do you expect for 99 cents, right? So anyways, I'm not going to concern myself with that. It's not my issue. The radio works, everything works, and I did my job as to installing it. The fact that it's a cheap Chinese radio and you have to deal with crap like this, that's not my problem. Another issue, of course, while it's here, right? Oh, while you're doing the brakes, can you look at the heat? The heat doesn't work. She said it works on the passenger side just fine, but the driver's side, you get warm air at best. And it's not even that cold today, and it was already just barely blowing out warm air. So it's just one of those things where, you know, they bring it for one thing and they want you to keep looking at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, until you start telling them where it's going to cost money, right? Because time is money. And then all of a sudden, well, you know. But let me go ahead and wrap up these brakes and get all of this stuff knocked out. Like I said, today's my birthday. A friend of mine actually stopped by. He brought me some stuff. He didn't know it was my birthday. He just stopped by to bring me some stuff, but I'll consider it as a birthday gift. So he got me the jack stand pads. My jack stands don't have any pads on them, so he got me this. That's pretty sweet. And he got me this new headlamp. It's right here. I had it charging, and if we turn this on, right there. So that's the back side of it. It would be on the back of your head. And here goes the actual front side. Pretty sweet, guys, right? Tell me it ain't sweet. All right, guys, so I got the new light in. I was going to say installed. I don't know why I was going to say installed, but it's on. So I got my new headlamp on. You can see everything looks pretty good. It's definitely a different color tone from the Milwaukee light. And the first thing that's catching my attention is that it's got more of a wider range. It's got more of a wider range, whereas the Milwaukee is more focused. It has more of a beam. So like what you're looking at, that's exactly where the light is pointing. Where this thing, it's kind of, I feel like I got light all over now, not just at the thing I'm looking at. The Milwaukee does seem brighter, and I would expect that because the light's being focused on something. So whatever you're looking at does seem to be illuminated a little bit more. But this just lights up everything around you. I think it's pretty neat. So it's a few hours later. I'm out here test driving this Ford. The brakes feel absolutely fantastic. No weird noises or anything like that. It stops great. No, it didn't take me that long to do the brakes. It's just after I was done, I went in the house, got something to eat, started watching YouTube for a little while, and then the owner said she was actually going to pick it up tonight. So I figured, you know what, let me go out there and do my test drive and all that good stuff and make sure everything's good. So it's pretty much ready for her to pick it up. So I thought I was done with this car, and technically I am. Anyway, I told the owner I'm done with it, come pick it up. And she's like, hey, did you get a chance to look at the dash and see if it's a blown out fuse? I'm like, what are you talking about? She said the cluster is not lighting up. And I'm like, well, it is working now. I don't know what to tell you. So obviously it's not a fuse. She said, yeah, last night it wasn't working. She said the headlights were on at night, but none of this was lit up. And I haven't seen it act up. It's been working normal the whole time I've had it here. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. And honestly, I'm not concerned with it right now because I gotta go in the house and bake some cookies. So got this 2018 Colorado here. It's here because at around 80 miles per hour, the owner said there's shaking the steering wheel. As soon as he brought it in, the first thing I noticed is the tires. These tires don't belong in this car. I mean, these are like off-roading tires. So at like 80, 90 miles per hour, what do you expect? And I told him I definitely cannot replicate the problem because I'm not going to drive your truck that fast. But still, I was willing to take a look at it. Maybe if there's a loose tie rod or something, which I wasn't expecting. Again, it's a 2018. It's currently 2021 right now. Granted, it's late 21, but still, the car's not that old. So yeah, I'm not finding anything. You can see I got it jacked up. Check the sides already. There's nothing loose. Everything feels nice and tight. It's simply just these tires. You know, I asked him, was it doing this before you changed the wheel and tires? And he said, no, but I can't really, you know, I wasn't really looking for it. Trust me, if there was an issue before you put these tires and wheel on a car, you would have noticed it. It's got to be the tires. That's all I could say. So there isn't much else here. Just gonna go ahead and give it back to the owner. There's nothing I could do here. Put your original wheels and tires back on it and call it a day. So, oh, and by the way, with these tires on, at any speeds, it sounds like all four wheel bearings are bad. It's the tires. It sounds horrible while driving this thing. I mean, there's so many negatives, all because you want to look cool. Sorry guys, not worth it. We got another one, guys. Time to go over to the whiteboard. Let's go ahead and check this one out. And there we have it. All right, so that's another one for the whiteboard. Actually, I have to put two of them on here because I forgot all about that Ford Focus. I'll put a card in the top right hand corner right here that I did just on New Year's Day. So that's one for the Ford Focus, and this is one for the Impala that's here in the garage. What I'm going to do is create a poll on YouTube, so when you see that pop up, if you like, go ahead and vote on it. And at the end of the year, we'll see how many cars we got in this garage with grinding brakes on them, and whoever gets closest to the correct number, I don't know, maybe I'll send you something. So yeah, when you see that poll pop up, go ahead and vote, and let's just have some fun. So it's only a few days into 22, and we already have 3 cars on the board. So we're moving along here. As you can see, we got a new rotor, new pads, new hardware kit. I got both of the slide pins free. They move in and out and spin freely. Here goes the old rotor with the pad, and here goes the inboard pad. If you look at this one, you can see there's absolutely no friction material left on this, so that was about to start grinding as well. Now, what caused all of this? Honestly, guys, I think it's just old worn out pads that they were due for changing, and the owner just kept riding it. Because I looked at the pads on the front right side, and they are getting to just about as low as this one is, like almost nothing at all. So basically, all the pads look like they're wearing down evenly. It's just a matter of they should have been changed a while ago. And the slide pins weren't helping because they were definitely gummed up. They weren't seized, like locked in place with rust. They were just gummed up. Basically, whoever was in here last, it looks like they put anti-seize on the slide pins. And that's not good because with the extreme heat that goes on here, that anti-seize just kind of gums up and becomes real tacky and gummy. And it was very difficult for these slide pins to move. I had to fight with them to get them out and clean them up. So it's all set now. Let me go ahead and wrap this up. And this thing also has broken stabilizer links, and the outer tie rods are worn out. I can feel play in the tie rods. I bet you these bushings are seized right here. Who knows, but it's not good. I'm not surprised. The car needs plenty more work. The brakes is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm done with the brakes. I'm ready to take this Impala out for a test drive. And of course, another blender actuator, another Impala. These things are such junk, I swear to God. So out for the test drive, and the brakes feel absolutely fantastic, nice and smooth. The car comes to a very good stop with nice firm pedal. Feels really good. This is just so satisfying for me. I love putting on new pads and rotors on people's cars. It's kind of like how, you know, when people buy new cell phones or whatever type of technology, and they just get satisfaction off of peeling the plastic off. To me, it's kind of the same thing. When I take a car out that had destroyed brakes and now it stops super nice and smooth, it's the same exact thing to me. It's just a whole new level of satisfaction. Anyway, that's it for this one. Car stops great. Working on a Chevy Malibu here with a bad blower motor, and this one still has the factory blower motor in it. But this, another shit design from Chevy. This thing is actually like part of the housing right here, and in order to get it out, you actually have to cut it out with a blade. You can see I got my blade right there. So you have to cut all of this around here so it releases and drops out. And the new one, the aftermarket part, actually comes with a flange, just like a regular blower motor. And they even supply the screws to screw it on. And the casting has the original mounting locations right there. It just blows my mind. Like, why didn't Chevy do this from the beginning? You know what I mean? The only thing I could think of is they tried to penny pinch and save money on screws. So if you get it all molded into one piece, you don't have to put screws on it to hold it in place, which saves you exactly 1 penny for every 10 cars. So that's what that is. Anyways, I got the old one out. I took a capture on the scope of what the old one looked like, and we'll get the new one in and get a new capture of that. So I got our new blower motor in place, and this is what the waveform looked like on the same exact settings that we had the first time. That is a massive difference. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. As you can probably tell, it is dark out here, guys. I'm done, so I'm freezing.